Okay, Jai Hind everyone. Today we are going to practice the lecturate procedure of the SSB. It is the first individual task of your GTO. In this task, it is a very simple task. You have to come up to the desk, pick up one card. In this card, you will find 4 topics. पहला topic जो है that is above average level topic. The second topic and third topic is average level, and the fourth topic is below average. You can choose any one of the topic of your choice, and then you have to go outside the room. You have to prepare a lecture for 3 minutes. After that, you have to come in and deliver a lecture on that topic. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
For the indication of the time, after 2 minutes 30 seconds, I will say next. The person who will be standing here, this will be an indication कि आपके 30 seconds बचे हुए हैं. So you have to conclude your lecture. The second person who has to come will come and pick up the card and go outside, and the person who is waiting outside to preparing for his lecture, he has to come and start delivering his lecture. Clear है?
Yes, sir.
After completion of 3 minutes, I will say stop, and आपका procedure वहाँ पे end हो जाएगा. It is a simple procedure. You can choose any topic, but always remember कि जैसे सर आपके topic का level कम होगा, the level of performance will increase. The pressure of performance will increase. आपका अगर easy level का topic है तो you have to perform a flawless performance. अगर थोड़ा tough level का topic है then थोड़ा बहुत stammering चल जाएगा. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
But do not let the choice pressurize you. जिस भी topic पे आप comfortable हो, जिस भी topic पे आप 3 मिनट तक पूरा बोल सको, choose that topic only. Clear है?
Yes, sir.
The body posture will be of standard ease posture. Legs will be at your shoulder level. हाथ आपके पीछे रहेंगे. Do not use hand gestures or try to use minimum hand gestures whenever you want to emphasize on any certain words. Clear?
Yes.
Only the head movement will be there. Maintain proper eye contact with your group. The person sitting in the front in a semicircle is your group. Do not look at the people who are sitting behind you. Only this is your group. Do not address the GTO. You have to only address your group and look at them. Maintain proper eye contact. Do not make unnecessary body movements like shaking legs or shifting your body front and back. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts?
No, sir.
Should we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just number 13.
Financial deception. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tanya Mishra. The topic that I have chosen for this lecture is money laundering as a financial deception. The term financial deception means a deliberate act of taking the financial transactions and financial assets from a person to another person so as to harm the individual for the personal gain of one person. Money laundering is one such act of financial deception. The term money laundering implies that when a money is transferred from one bank account to another bank account so as to change its origin, that is from black money to white money, the person who does this act is known as launderer. The term money laundering also specifies 3 specific stages wherein the process of money laundering which can be done by that. The 3 processes are, one is placement, the second is integration, third is layering. The term money laundering can be done by various methods such as hawala transactions, e-card, shifting the banking name or the transactions from one fake bank account to another fake bank account. There have been so the term money laundering is completely different from the term black money. Black money is basically when you have committed a tax fraud and which is not yet converted into a white money. The origin of the money is not yet changed. But in the case of money laundering, in the case of money laundering is basically a conversion of money and its origin from one bank account to another bank account. Therefore, to conclude my lecture, I would say that the problem of money laundering has been inculcating in the society from time immemorial. Nobody has been noticing it, but I think it's time now for the people to understand the problem so as to understand the problem for the betterment of the society and so as to get a solution for the same. Thank you.
Going.
Should I start?
Start.
Good morning, one and all. I'm Sharka Lal, and I'm here for the topic, lecture topic, importance of newspaper in our society. So, newspaper plays a very important role in our society. It helps in awareness of our society. It helps in current affairs, in knowing the current affairs. There is surely pros and cons of newspaper. It helps in knowing the news of other countries. It helps in knowing the current affairs of countries. The merits of newspaper are that sometimes it shows some immoral news, or it shows some vulgar pictures which are very immoral for our society, and sometimes it terrifies people by spreading sensationalism. It also sense of relief for the people who has an interest in showbiz and in sports and games. For them, the news is given inside the newspaper. At last, I want to conclude my topic by, of course, it has some cons that it spreads some negative news which is senseless, but it also has a positive information that gives us good information. This proves the saying that pen is mightier than the sword. Thank you, sir.
Next.
I have it over. How about you?
Good morning, friend. The topic of my lecture is India-China relationship. India-China, two ancient countries, ancient civilization, common cultural civilization. The countries which should have been friends if there is no dictatorship in China, but they are the biggest enemy in the today's world. If we talk about the India-China, the two are the most populous nation on the earth. One of the most popular, they are the two biggest economies, have the biggest business relationship, but still we are the enemy. If we talk from the ancient times, we have seen that during the Harappan times, various artifacts of Harappan civilization is found in the China. So this shows that the India-China have relationships in the ancient times. After the independence, the China Communist Party came to power in 1949 and the India got independence in 1947. So after that, the India was one of the first countries to establish relations and with the People's Republic of China. So this helped China in having relations with the world. So after that, many countries are accepting People's Republic of China. If we talk about in 1950s, we have very close relation and Chinese visits in India. But in 1962, due to border disputes, we have a war. And after that, in 1967, in 1980, and recently in 2020, we have a border dispute which led to harming the relation between the two countries. So, if we talk about the normalization of the relationships, normalizing the relation between India and China begins from the 1980 during the Janata Dal government, when the government decided to have a friendly relation with China and keeping the border issues aside, we should have talks with the China. So from 1980s, the passes in the Sikkim are open for a business relationship. After that, we are seeing from 80s, 90s and 2000s, the trade between India and China goes on increasing and increasing. And now talking about the part groups in international forums, we have seen that the India and China are part of the various common groups like Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the BRICS and various other groups where they talk to each other and also have a various exercises, military exercises between them, which led to the good strengthening the relation between India and China. So I think that the India and China are the two biggest Asian giants and they have vast population. if they are able to make only their population happy, then half of the world would be happy. Any decision between India and China would affect half of the world population. That is around 350 crore.
Next.
So I think that the India and China must focus on establishing their relationship. Concluding my topic, I should say that the relation between the people to people contact between India and China is not very bad, as we have been seeing that various Indian people love Chinese people and their movies, and Chinese also love Indian movies. So I say that India must focus on improving the relationship with the China. Thank you.
National Education Policy.
Good morning, my dear friends. Today I am Abhishek Kumar and I am here to deliver a lecture on National Education Policy. As we know that National Education Policy that implemented in July 2020 is a far-sighted policy that provides a wide viewpoint for our education sector. As we know that the first education policy that was started in 1968 by Indira Gandhi and again in 1986 by Rajiv Gandhi, which was of 10+2 level. And the new education policy that started, it is in the format of 5+3+3+4. That means at the age of 3 to 8, from 8 to 11, and 11 to 14, and 14 to 18. That means you have children are starting from at the age of 3, he can went into the pre-nursery class at Anganwadis and then went into his class first and second. In 2050, a former cabinet secretary T.S.R. Subramaniam was the head of the committee that took the advice for constructing our national education policy across 2.6 lakhs panchayats. In 2 lakhs people from the 2.6 lakhs panchayat and 6,000 people from the 8,000 blocks and across the 646 districts. The main advantage of our new education policy is that it is based on the skill-based policy. You don't have to. And the previous education policy was based only on the theoretical education that you have to cross your 10th, 12th graduation and on. But why there is a need to construct a new education policy? We are in 21st century, but we don't have any kind of education policy that is implemented on the student and that which provide a right path for the student to get their jobs. Now the new education policy is based on their skills. A student from the age of 8 or in class 6, he can study coding or any kind of language he want to do. If he is interested in doing extracurricular activity, he can do extracurricular activity and what he wants. So the new education policy is very scientific, and the main objective of national education policy is to provide education to the students on their local language. They don't want to impose any kind of language on the students since their childhood, because we know that a child could learn better in his local language. So I want to conclude that the new education policy is far-sighted and provide good knowledge based on a skill and based on what our industry needs. So it will provide a good job in future, and what we need is Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. If you're planning for a year, sow rice. If you're planning for a decade, plant trees. And if you're planning for a lifetime, educate people. These lines clearly depicts the importance of education in one's life. Similar is the topic of my today's lecture, that is the digital education in India. COVID-19 pandemic has been the spotlight on the need to push the digital education. For India, it is the key phase or the new phase for the future education. affordable high-speed internet and D2D technologies, that is direct-to-device technologies, they are helping and empowering students to study online and improve their skills and knowledge. But if we see the rural states, their condition is very dismal. They have to face various challenges. For example, the outdated teaching plans, the insufficient teaching resources, the shortage of teachers as well, the inadequate teacher-student ratio. So, with the digitization of education, we'll certainly overcome all these problems in a better way. Moreover, the teachers will also be benefited by this. For example, they can communicate and interact with the students which are present in various locations at a single time. Moreover, the digital education is not the videos or the lectures by the teachers on the internet. It is more appropriate the platforms, the technologies, the curiosity, the content, and a very lot more. So, digital education is very necessary. For example, in my schools and various schools, I have seen the EduComs, the educational computers, which help students to understand the concepts in a better way. Recently, the Government of India has also increased the budget, the allocating budget for the education. It has, like in new education policy, it has been increased up to the 6%, which will definitely increase the education sector. So, concluding my lecture, digital education nowadays is very important factor. It is necessary for the betterment of any country.
Next.
Thank you so much.
Okay, a very good morning to all my colleagues. My name is Pershla and the topic for my lecturate is cross-border terrorism. Cross-border basically means a course of action or an activity which is carried from one country to another neighboring country. This is a form of terrorism where citizens of one country gather together in a group and tries to create terror in another neighboring country which shares its borders. It is an undeclared war, and it is highly or immensely characterized as a strategic form of terrorism where with very few efforts. I would like to talk about the factors that are involved which support cross-border terrorism. First of all, I would be talking about mostly keeping in mind about India. So I would like to talk about India as well. Although cross-border crime is an international crime which happens in mostly all of the corners of the country, but mainly I would be talking about India. So first of all, I would like to discuss that India has almost all the borders that are there in India are basically unprotected, and it is strategically very, it is considered to be less strategic on the level of security that are there on the borders. I would like to talk about some examples. First of all, I would like to talk about the relationships and about India and Nepal. As we know that India-Nepal border is open border where people from India as well as Nepal can cross border at any point of time, and due to which many anti-India organizations send their agents in the territories of India to perform some tasks regarding the information and technology and the level of security that is there in India. Secondly, I would like to talk about India and Myanmar, as the borders are mostly on the northeastern side. I would say that most of the insurgency groups such as National Socialist Council of Nagaland are performing some activities that would damage the ideology of India as well as Myanmar. To conclude my topic, I would to conclude this
Okay,
topic.
stop.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Hello, friends. I am Garima Priya, and my topic of lecturate is environmental pollution. Yes, environmental pollution is not the term which has simultaneously or which has been emerged nowadays itself, but it has we, the human beings, are the influencers or the givers of this term, the pollution. Environment consists of air, water, plant and animal, which is badly degraded by the human beings. There are several examples of degradation of environment, but one among the most famous is which shook the whole country was occurred in 1984, the Bhopal gas leak tragedy. Yes, it was a tragedy because thousands of lives were finished in that nightmare. It was caused because of the leakage of the gas of methyl isocyanate from the Union Carbide Corporation, and there was also no such liability was taken by the corporation as well regarding the loss of lives we suffered. So, and also, if we have pros, we have also cons. So, we have a human being amongst us who fights for the environment as well. The renowned person is known as Advocate MC Mehta sir. He is an advocate and has filed a number of TILs for saving the environment, and regarding the pollution caused in the river of Ganga, for saving the habitats near the Sardar Sarovar Dam, and etc. And also, if we talk about saving of the environment, obviously this is taught to all of us from the school, in the school educations as well. But we forgot about how to save the environment. The simple thing is we
30 seconds left.
We keep on telling others to save the environment, but it depends on us, and it starts from us and from today to save the environment. And we have to save it, because if we want our future generation to live long, live happily, live freely and enjoy the environment, this is our responsibility to save our environment. So let's begin with us and save the environment together. Thank you.
Yes, good.
A very humble good morning to everyone. My lecture topic for today is my favorite book. So I would like to start this lecture with a famous quote of Zeno of Citium from Meditations. A man who suffers before it's necessary is a man who suffers more than it's necessary. And this is a quote that has greatly influenced me and has energized me to read the book completely. And the first part of the book that covers is, do not be distracted by the shades of others. Oftentimes in life, there will be people who will try to throw shades on you, on your motivation, because they aren't working that hard as you are. So it is your duty to not be influenced by those shades and rather keep working towards your goals. Second point is, oftentimes there will be things that will be unacceptable by you, but it is your job to take the way things are, because it will help you in preserving your peace of mind and will energize you to be undistracted. Third, staying calm under pressure. Oftentimes there will be moments in your life that you will be in a state of panic. People around you will be in a panic mode. But as a man, you have to preserve your peace of mind and stay calm under those pressure moments, because it will be your job, because the ones who are taking you as their ideals will look up to you, and it is your job to make them calm, and that is only possible if you try to be calm. So it is your job to be calm under pressure. Fourth, life is full of malevolence and you can do nothing about it. So instead of trying to expect happiness on every moment of your life, rather think that yes, there are moments I will be sad, there are moments I will be happy, and it is your job to stay neutral under every situation, because you never know what coins are, you never know when the tables are turned, and you often feel happy and you will end up feeling sad. Thank you.
So it is time for assessment. Just number 13. You chose the first type of topic. The body language has to be worked upon. Body language में कहीं ना कहीं doubt है. And the stammering is there. Nervousness थी काफ़ी. And you spoke for 2 minutes 10 seconds. So time has to be increased. Just number 14. Eye contact में कहीं ना कहीं कमी आ रही है. Fillers and pauses काफ़ी है. And nervousness थी कहीं ना कहीं 2 minutes आपका time speaking था. 1 minute you have to increase it. 62. There was a pressure of performance a little bit. Power of expression was good. And legs were shaking. You need to work on your body language a little bit. Eye contact was good. 3 minutes आपका पूरा complete था. The content was good. 84. Power expression is good. Confidence level पहले से काफ़ी अच्छा हो गया है. Body is under your control. Good. Eye contact में कहीं ना कहीं कमी आ रही है और looking straight, not to the people, not to the group. Stammering थोड़ी बहुत हो रही है. But still, you spoke for 3 minutes. The content was good. 85. Good start. आपकी परफॉर्मेंस काफ़ी काम थी. पावर एक्सप्रेशन काफ़ी अच्छा था. ऑर्गेनाइजिंग एबिलिटी वॉज गुड. इन्वॉल्वमेंट वॉज गुड. द ओनली प्रॉब्लम वॉज आपकी बॉडी मूवमेंट जो थी अपर बॉडी का हल्का हल्का साइड मूवमेंट काफ़ी हो रहा था. इफ द बॉडी विल रिमेन काम द परफॉर्मेंस वॉज रियली गुड. यू स्पोक फॉर 2 minutes 30 seconds. थोड़ा सा टाइम और इंक्रीज करना. दैट वॉज द परफॉर्मेंस वॉज गुड. 123. योर वॉइस इज़ रियली गुड. रिच है. उसको अच्छे से प्रॉपरली यूज़ करें एज योर स्ट्रेंथ. आई कॉन्टैक्ट में कहीं ना कहीं कमी आ रही है. व्हेन यू ट्राई टू रिमेंबर थिंग्स आप नीचे देखते हो. मेंटेन प्रॉपर आई कॉन्टैक्ट विद द ग्रुप. स्टैमरिंग थोड़ी बहुत हो रही है बट स्टिल यू स्पोक फॉर 3 minutes. द परफॉर्मेंस वाज अब जस्ट अबव एवरेज. थोड़ा सा और वर्क करना है ऑन द थिंग्स आई टोल्ड यू. 180. पावर ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन इज गुड. थोड़े बहुत फिलर्स आ रहे. बॉडी लैंग्वेज इज गुड. काल्म परफॉर्मेंस, ईजी फ्लॉलेस परफॉर्मेंस थी. 3 minutes टोटल था. गुड परफॉर्मेंस. 199. बॉडी में थोड़ा सा वर्क करना है. योर बॉडी इज मूविंग फॉरवर्ड एंड बैकवर्ड. अब वेस्ट की मूवमेंट आपकी आगे पीछे हल्की फुल्की हो रही है. कंट्रोल दैट. पावर ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन इज गुड. कॉन्फिडेंस और एनर्जी आपका पहले से काफ़ी अच्छा हो गया है. पॉजेस थोड़े बहुत आ रहे हैं बट इट इज़ द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ द 4th टॉपिक. ही चोज द 4th लेवल टॉपिक बट द परफॉर्मेंस वॉज गुड. सो इट डजेंट मैटर आप किस लेवल की परफॉर्मेंस चूज कर रहे हैं. इफ़ आपका कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल अच्छा है, परफॉर्मेंस आपकी फ्लॉलेस है, डू नॉट फोकस मोर ऑन द कंटेंट, ऑन वॉट यू स्पीक. बिकॉज ज़्यादातर लोग आपका यही होता है जब परफॉर्मेंस की दिक्कत आती है, स्टैमरिंग आती है, इट इज़ बिकॉज यू आर फोकसिंग मोर ऑन वॉट टू स्पीक. बट रैदर SSB is a whole test of how to speak those things. I have repeated again and again that SSB is not a test of your knowledge, it is a test of your personality. So what to speak doesn't matter, वो आपकी नॉलेज का टेस्ट होगा. इफ़ यू आर अ डायरेक्ट एंट्री मतलब कि आपने कहीं ना कहीं कोई क्वालिफिकेशन आपकी ऐसी रही है, मेड बी जैग एंट्री या फिर FCAT एंट्री अगर आपकी तो रिटर्न एंट्री है. सो यू हैव ऑलरेडी शोड दैट यू हैव एडिक्वेट अमाउंट ऑफ टैलेंट नॉलेज. नाउ द नॉलेज इज नॉट चेक्ड. आपके पर्सनालिटी का चेक हो रहा है यहाँ पे. कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल कैसा है, आप अपनी बातों को कितनी बेहतर तरीके से सामने रख पा रहे हैं, इन्फ्लुएंसिंग एबिलिटी कैसे, इन्वॉल्वमेंट कैसा है, ऑल दोज थिंग्स. सो वर्क ऑन दोज थिंग्स. डेफिनेटली द नॉलेज हैज़ रियली इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर बिकॉज जब आपका नॉलेज लेवल ज़्यादा होता है अल्टीमेटली बाकी फैक्टर्स आपके इंडायरेक्टली इन्फ्लुएंस होते हैं. लाइक योर कॉन्फिडेंस विल बी इंक्रीज. आपको समझाने में ईजी होगा बट द मेन फोकस हैज़ टू बी ऑन द 93% ऑफ नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशन. As I've told you, 7% of only verbal communication matters and 93% of non-verbal. That is the richness of your voice, the volume of your voice, and 55% of your body language. So focus more on those aspects and a little bit less on the knowledge factor for this moment. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay.